Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
We're less than a week away from the 2026 NFL Draft. Welcome to Bengals On The Brian, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Joe Goodberry. Got a couple things we've got to do before we get to the draft. We've done rankings and film and mock drafts. I want to do some underrated guys and bring up some film and some data points on the gems that I think are underrated and probably should be talked about higher, or maybe they get drafted higher and the NFL is on them the way I am as well. And I'm going to do one for each position on offense. So we're going to do quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and one offensive lineman. That'll be today's episode. The next episode will be the defensive players. So it'll be one defensive end, one D tackle, one linebacker, one corner, one safety. And then the final episode will be right before the draft. And that'll be our final mock draft. Then it'll be a predictive mock draft of what I think will happen and what I think the Bengals will do. And maybe there will be some alternate universe scenario type things. But largely we're going to keep it as what I think will happen. Maybe a little of what I hope. But today's episode is the offensive gems in this draft class. The diamonds in the rough. The guys that are not being talked about. Maybe you've never heard of them. Maybe you've only heard of them. And you'd like to see some film and get some data points on what makes this guy a sleeper in the 2026 draft. Let's start with quarterback. You're looking at Haynes King out of Georgia Tech, the 25-year-old quarterback who has a pretty good data score at 6'2", 212. Can run really, really well. One of the more athletic quarterbacks in this class. There's a handful of them, but he can run, he can move. He looks like he's got a strong arm, climbing in the pocket, getting away from guys. All skills you would like to see from a guy that's probably a 6th, 7th round pick. His production score for us comes in the 92nd percentile. His relative athletic score is in the 96th percentile. He's got 1,200 pass attempts in his career. He has completed 801 of them for 9,453 yards with 65 passing touchdowns. He's also one of the least sacked quarterbacks, which is a good thing. His pressure to sack ratio puts him in the 96th percentile, sack rate in the 93rd percentile. He can be a little reckless with the ball at times, leading to 34 interceptions in his career, which is a lot. But 452 career rushing attempts, 37 rushing touchdowns, 2,600 rushing yards. That's a really good, productive running career for Haynes King. And his yards after contact is in the 92nd percentile. I think he's a guy you could use in a lot of different ways. Shows good speed, shows good power. Is a decent scrambler, got a decent arm, and has made plays at the end of games when he's needed to. Sometimes he's been the butt of jokes for some of the mistakes he's made. But I think this is a quality 6th, 7th round pick that could potentially, I don't know if he's going to start, but maybe be a gadget guy. Maybe, he can come in as a backup and run around a little bit and keep a game going. He's 255th on the consensus rankings, and he comes out on our spreadsheet as 90th. So our spreadsheet likes him a little bit more on the data.
For Haynes King. Does he have one more miraculous comeback in him? On 4th and long, King taking a shot downfield. Got a man. It's caught. And Rivers running free. First down, Georgia Tech. He beat Evan Johnson, and they're still alive.
The Bengals have done a ton of work with, looks like day 3, potentially undrafted quarterbacks. I expect they're going to go after one. That could be a pick in the 7th round, or it's just work to get one of these guys to sign with them afterwards as an undrafted free agent, right? Someone you could bring into camp and maybe put on the practice squad because you have, remember, Josh Johnson as the number 3. Maybe you trade Joe Flacco at some point if a starting quarterback goes down, and you can do the same thing the Browns did last year and you recoup a 5th round pick. So I think they're looking at quarterback and especially the backup situation going forward because you can't keep Josh Johnson, Joe Flacco forever. Not saying Haynes King is the guy, but I am intrigued by his ability to run, and I would like to have a backup quarterback that can do that. 2 schools of thought. Do you want the same type of quarterback as your backup so you can run the same offense, or if you need to get through a couple games, would you like a guy with a skill set you could lean on? I think at the very least, Haynes King has that ability to run. And he's not a bad passer. I know he's made some mistakes, but, he's been productive for largely 3+ years at this point. Next up is running back. And I've got a guy that's pretty low on the rankings and the consensus. I'll tell you where he is as I'm doing the video. But he reminds me of Brian Leonard. I want to throw that out first and let it play because I want to see if you can see the same thing. He's definitely faster than Brian Leonard was. But Leonard was a solid player coming out of Rutgers, if you're as old as I am. Was a good third down back, could pass protect, very clutch player. 3rd and 4, you needed 4 yards, he'd find a way to dive forward and get that 4th yard and convert first down. This is Houston's, he was from Rice, Dean Connors.
Connors on the give. Dean Connors takes off. The answer is the former Owl. Dean Connors for 6 in the closing seconds.
Dean Connors is 322nd on the consensus board. Comes out 164th for us on our draft spreadsheet. 5'11" and 3/8, 208. Kind of a bit stumpy there, under 30-inch arms. But we're talking about a role player. Ran a 4.45 at his pro day. Had a 6.95 3-cone, which is really good. That's good for a 97 percentile athleticism score from relative athletic score. Production puts him in the 72nd percentile. We're talking about a kind of elusive running back, like sideline to sideline. I thought he was very elusive at the East-West Shrine game. Looked good there. Had a couple of nice runs. I think he's a very good receiver. We saw that one catch to start this, or the second highlight in this package, where he catches it one-handed. You see a catch here, and he's going to make a guy miss in the flats and make another guy miss, sort of as he goes down. But the point is, he does this a lot. This is LSU, and he's running down the field against LSU. Definitely not the fastest guy, but a 4.45 is more than good enough. And yes, he just looks steady to me. Looks steady, looks solid. There's some Rice clips here. You see his lateral agility, his lateral cuts. We'll get some East-West Shrine here. He is on a screen pass. I just think you could use him, and he's going to make guys miss at a decent rate, which is what I'm looking for, to be honest with you. And his receiving profile is pretty good coming out of college and runs with a lot of power. And I think he's going to be able to contribute. And the fact that he's going to be undrafted as of now, I think that's a crime. I think Dean Connors, at the very least, in a terrible running back class, I think he's worth a 6th or 7th round pick. You see him here leaking out, catching a final pass here in the East-West Shrine game, and making a guy miss in the flats. This is what you want. And the Bengals have been doing a bunch of work with the running backs. I think there's a chance they're going to draft a guy on day 3. They always are prepared. I think they have a lot of contact pretty much every year that we've been tracking it with day 3 running backs, because why not? Typically, especially last year's class, you get Tosh Brooks, who this year would probably be like a 4th round pick. So if you're just looking for a 3rd guy or a 4th guy, it's probably going to come undrafted, maybe 7th round. I think Dean Connors slides right into that area. So I would be all for it. I've got another guy here that's kind of like a running back. He's listed at some places running back. I'm using him at receiver because I think he's going to be a receiver in the NFL. I think he's more of a receiver that could do a lot, can carry the ball. And I wouldn't doubt he's going to be a good special teamer. This is Navy's Eli Heidenreich. You're going to see Eli lined up at a bunch of different spots here. So try to follow the circle here as he's in the backfield, at wide receiver, at tight end. Try to notice his athleticism because he tested very similar. One of the common comps for his athleticism is Christian McCaffrey. So yeah, it's a little far-fetched, but let's go with it. He's 186 on the consensus board. He's 75th on our draft spreadsheet, so I think people are low on him. 6 foot, 198. So again, more like a running back size or a wide receiver size. Ran a 4.44, had 35.5-inch vert. He looks agile. He looks quick. His Heidenreich's athleticism puts him in the 92nd percentile. His production in the 82nd percentile. His receiving grade for running back / receiver puts him in the 100th percentile from PFF. They've really liked him as a receiving back. And a guy who got a lot of missed tackles forced, a lot of yards after the catch. You see it right here. He will outrun angles. He'll just slip and give you the dead leg and then pull it away. Didn't drop a lot of balls at all. Had a 3.5% drop rate. You can see the routes aren't really there. There's not a lot of contested situations, even though he caught 91% of the contested balls in his career, which is really, really good. They just don't have a lot, right? You've got a lot of production on a yards per route run basis because they would do things like this play right here where they're going to let him get isolated one-on-one after play action, and he can track the ball really well. And I think like these plays here, he's just faster than the safety and the linebacker that are trying to cover him. He's one hand grabbing these things. Eli Heidenreich looks like, if not to make jokes, but if the Patriots during the Tom Brady era would have gotten him, people would be like, oh my God, they got another one. They're going to turn him into Julian Edelman. Well, why don't we turn him into Julian Edelman with Joe Burrow? And plus more gadget stuff. I think you can do some running back things with him, of course. I think you could develop him into a return man because I don't believe he did it much at Navy. And you could probably use one pick on a guy here. Let's draft 2 Navy guys this year, to be honest with you. We'll get to that when we get to the defensive side. But draft Heidenreich, and he could potentially fill 3 spots for you. The return man, running back, wide receiver, just gadget offensive player. Look at this catch, right? The guy's a good player and continued to make plays. He was really the only guy that stood out on Navy's offense. That's a nice slant route run through traffic, catch with your hands. Like, it's funny, you see some of the clips of him as a running back and you go, yeah, this guy can play running back. And then you see these clips of him as a receiver and you say, yes, he can play receiver. Very rare combo player. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes much higher in the draft than where his consensus 180. No, I'm thinking 4th round for Eli Heidenreich. Touchdown again. Deep ball. I like this receiving class on day 1. On day 2, it gets thin probably after the 4th round, like a lot of these positions, to be honest with you. I think this is a pretty terrible day 3 of a class. You could always find the gems, though, and that's what this episode's supposed to be about. So Eli Heidenreich, if he's there in the 4th, I expect that. But if he's there in the 6th, 7th, I think that's a home run type pick with a lot of upside, a guy that looks like he can help you in a lot of ways. And again, I think you got to find a way to maximize these day 3 picks the way they did getting Chase Brown. And even Andre Yosibash is a great 6th round pick, right? You'd like him to be able to do more, but we have to start looking at replacing that production at wide receiver 3 and 4 now because Charlie Jones, Yoshi, they're in the last year of their deals. You have to see how the rest of the depth pans out and if they can do anything. But it's about time to draft a receiver again. It's about time because we lost Jermaine Burton, didn't get anything from him. And so if you could get it on day 3 in the 6th round with a guy like this, I'm for it. Plus, I just think you just need to be more multiple, be able to do more things. He's a solid blocker too. I didn't get any clips of that, but I if someone else was posting a highlight of just Eli Heidenreich blocking when he's either the lead back or kind of at tight end, as you saw him run routes there. He's listed on some boards as a tight end. He's not that big, obviously. We will move the tight end now with a guy that he was not on our draft spreadsheet 2 weeks ago. And when we get to the end, we look for anyone that we may have still in there that actually isn't in the draft, right? We delete those guys. But then we also say who tested really well that's worth putting in the sheet. So we add those guys. And then we go through the production numbers. Anyone that was really productive that is worth adding to the sheet. Well, this guy, this BYU tight end, Carson Ryan, showed up in both those categories and really well in both. And we go, okay, this guy's going to score really high for us. We go and look at the consensus. He's nowhere on there. There's rankings. He's not getting drafted. He was at like 340 just 2 weeks ago. Now he's starting to move up because people are talking about him. People are starting to get an idea of what this guy is. People are watching him. So watch this tape and let me know if we're absolutely crazy here that Carson Ryan should at the very least be a draftable player, if not a 4th, 5th round pick. I wouldn't think it's crazy to draft him in the 4th. And this is a loaded, absolutely loaded tight end class. Maybe that's why Carson Ryan is falling through the cracks. Let's check him out. Carson Ryan of BYU with the blue arrow over his head. Look at the nice little chip release. Let's make a guy miss if we can, huh? Run a little hard after the catch. Carson Ryan's now up to 220. Like I said, he was at like 320. He's at 220 on the consensus now. Want to know how high he is on our spreadsheet? Look at him getting the screen there. 29th. He got a first round score for us. So this is our Hunter Wooler, if you remember from last year, guy I really liked. It happens once in a while. Trey Smith, a bunch of years ago now, what was that, 2021 at guard. Mora Ojomo, I believe was 2021 as well. We had some good players that have been outside the top 200 that have scored as a first round grade for us. And you're seeing Carson Ryan here get some blocks, right? Kind of in a fullback spot there, kind of coming over. He's 6'3", so he's not the biggest guy. 255 though, really good density at that size. Ran a 4.71 and had a 1.610 10-yard split, which is really good. I like that cut right there. That cut across that corner's face and then yards after the catch. Yeah, that's what it looks like. 6.97 3-cone. So he is definitely quick. You see the 10-yard split and the 3-cone, really good for him. His relative athletic score is in the 92nd percentile, a 9.28 RAS. His production puts him in the 90th percentile. And PFF absolutely loves the guy, from a receiving grade in the 87th percentile, his yards per route run, his missed tackles forced, 71st percentile, his yak in the 77th percentile. Oh, and he's really good in zone. I thought he settled in zone very well, understood what the quarterback was looking at, knew how to convert from a receiver in zone that's typically standing facing the quarterback, flipping his hips and turning upfield into a runner after the catch, which is really key to getting yards after the catch, especially when you got to understand what zone's doing and turn that into a big play. The defense is trying to limit your big plays by playing that zone. And his run blocking grade from PFF is in the 86th percentile, guys. We're talking about a complete player that can block, that can run after the catch, that was asked to do a ton of things. He transferred twice. I want to say San Diego State and then Utah, who's had a bunch of tight ends go through there, before ending up in BYU and having a pretty productive career for them. You see him right there, just making guys miss, being strong after the catch. He had 98 targets for 74 catches and 1,020 yards in his career. That's solid, right? That's a good 2 years of production for a tight end. Look at him. Just see him maul that guy and get that pancake at the second level versus, I want to say this has to be ECU, right? To me, when I watched, I was highly impressed with him in a bunch of ways. He's really the guy this year for me where I'm like, man, these guys fly under the radar and slip through the cracks so often. Look at that cut at the top of his route. His breaks at the top of his route are really impressive. This looks like Travis Kelce running routes at times. But these guys slip through the cracks every year, and it gives you so much energy to continue to watch and dig and try and unearth more gems, because someone like this should be talked about a little bit more than he actually is. And for whatever reasons, I honestly think it's just because this class is so incredibly deep that a guy like this could fall through. And now it doesn't seem like the Bengals have been doing a ton of work at tight end this year. And they expect Eric All to come back, and we'll see what that role could look like, how healthy he can stay. This guy's been dealing with injuries for years at this point. But Drew Sample they think he's a great blocker, but he really can't do much other than that. Mike Gesicki is a really good receiver at tight end. Can't do much other than that. Finding a guy that can do a bit of both, Carson Ryan here, but there's a ton of them in the draft. So I wouldn't be shocked. I've said before in mocks, I would bet they're going to draft a tight end at some point. And the bet there is mostly that the class is so good and so loaded that they're going to be presented with a tight end in round 3, 4, if they get another 5th round pick, 6th, 7th round. That's probably best player available, because every team is going to get one. And that's a good problem to have. The Bengals shouldn't keep ignoring some of these strong classes in drafting from the weak classes, if you know what I'm saying. That's something that's been brought up a ton, and I agree. I think the Bengals should take advantage of more of the strengths of classes when they're trying to plan this out. Last one, offensive line. Micah Morris from Georgia. The Bengals were there last year at Georgia's Pro Day, looking at a lot of these guys. Micah Morris didn't come out last year. They sent guys there again. Why wouldn't you? After Amarius Mims, Dylan Fairchild, this guy is flying under the radar somehow. We're talking about a massive guard with pass protection chops, just the way Georgia guys have been the last few years. And Tate Ratledge has panned out. Jared Wilson had a solid rookie year. Now Monroe Freeling with 1 year starting, like Micah Morris, is going to be a first-round pick. Watch this guy. He's pretty good. Micah Morris, big 56 at left guard there, so you're going to see him stand out on a lot of these plays. He is 192 on the consensus. We have him at 57th overall on our spreadsheet. 5-year player at Georgia, really bided his time to get out there. Only 22 years old, though, 22.7. So 6'5", 334 pounds, 33 and 5-inch arms, 83 and a half inch wingspan, 10 and 3/8 hands. He's huge. He's massive. And he tested pretty well. He's a 99.6 RAS. Pass block grade from PFF puts him in the 93rd percentile. He's never given up a sack in his college career. 100th percentile there, obviously. Career pressure rate, 99th percentile. True pass set grade, 77th percentile. Even though Georgia doesn't put you in a lot of true pass set situations, you're getting some East-West Shrine practice footage here now. So really good pass blocking data for Micah Morris. Also penalties, only 5 penalties in his career. That's once every 336 snaps. Very good. He's got 1,600 career guard snaps in his career. And to me, size and athleticism will always play. Surprising athleticism for him. But you see it on these polls, right? You see him getting to the second level. You see when he gets contact, how it doesn't knock him off balance. He's knocking others off balance. That's not just strength. That's your own athleticism as well. Being able to remain on your feet and mirror guys and stay with them. So to me, when I watched him on tape and I did right after his testing, so I was like, okay, who's this guy? And then I saw the data and really good in pass protection. I'm like, that's perfect. Take him, plug him in. If we're saying he's a 5th rounder, 6th maybe, I think he's going to go in like the 4th round. But the Bengals do need a guard. I think Dalton Reisner's on a 1-year deal. Look at him here, just mauling guys. Get Micah Morris, develop him at right guard. Because at this point, I think we're looking at an offensive line pick at some point. Whether that's 3rd round, would that be crazy? Whether it's 4th, 6th, 7th, sure, throw those picks at an offensive lineman if you can. They need a backup center, a future center. They need a future right guard. They need potentially a swing tackle, right? I don't feel great about Jalen Rivers and Cody Ford at this point. So they could do a lot on the offensive line still. There still is a lot of picks to throw at that side. They have too many needs, right? That's what we always do this whenever we're talking about offensive line or tight end and running back, and you go, they don't need those things. They could use it. It could save you in the future if you get a good player. And to me, Micah Morris looks like a very good player. I think he's as good as Dylan Fairchild was last year. So for me, if he goes in the 3rd round, I wouldn't be absolutely shocked. I think he looks very similar. So just bigger. He's a lot bigger. I wonder if Dylan Fairchild's our future center. Then you plug in Micah Morris at that left guard spot. How about that? But again, these are the gems. If they're there in the 5th, 6th round, if you're one of the guys doing the shadow teams with me, I'm trying to draft a Micah Morris in the 5th round if he's there. So hopefully he is, and we can keep building offensive linemen because I have my offensive line set. But, that's just minor. If you guys are with me, you know what I'm talking about. 1 week to go. Well, from 1 week from now, I'm recording this on Thursday. You guys will see it Friday. 1 week from now will be on day 2 of the draft. That's where the meat and potatoes really is. We're going to love that Ruben Bain, Caleb Downs pick. No doubt about it. The Mansour Delaney, Jerome McCoy, whoever it is. But that day 2, that 2nd and 3rd round, it's exciting. That's where you get a lot of your good Jesse Bates, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, Sam Hubbard. We could use that, right? We could use a couple of those picks on day 2 this year. This has been Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. These are my sleepers, my gems on the offensive side of the ball in the 2026 draft. Until next time, Huda.